So it begins. Infernal greetings, infernal blessings to all. 2022 is upon us. Now, we know that time is a human construct. Time really doesn't exist, but in order to master time, you really have to create an understanding of time. For example, how do you master this illusion of time? By mastering time as we know it, you learn to break past it. So in other words, you start to learn that the time frame that we look for things to occur, eventually you will learn that you can bend space, matter, and time to speed up that pace, because time is not linear. Time is circular, or beyond even a circular mindset or creation. Time just is. So therefore, when you understand that, it is because you're finding a way in the human construct to master the understanding of time by being, one, on time, two, accomplishing your goals and tasks within that time. The more you do that, the more you learn to break past the human construct of time. This is important and very essential moving forward in 2022. For we know we're really not in 2022, but for the sake of argument, let's stay within 2022. We know we must break beyond that. We must go beyond the limitations we have put upon ourselves. And therefore, it is important that we start to set short-term goals and long-term goals. Short-term goals are things you can do within the next 3 months to 6 months. Long-term goals are 6 months or even longer, year, 2 years, 3 years. The more short-term goals you accomplish, the more long-term goals you will achieve. I repeat that again. The more short-term goals you accomplish, the more long-term goals you will achieve. People sometimes set out and create long-term goals without taking the steps to get there. The steps that you need to get to the long-term goals are the short-term goals. Therefore, they're smaller steps to accomplish a larger step. That is when you start to understand the human construct of time. So what must we do on the left-hand path? How can we utilize this on the left-hand path? Well, for example, let's say that your goal is to take 3 different classes this year and to see the class from beginning to end. That in itself would be a short-term goal to a long-term goal. You will be met with challenges. You will be met with frustration. You will be met with a lot of different things trying to accomplish those short-term and long-term goals of the class and classwork, ritual work, self-discipline, frustration, elation. All these things will happen and occur when you start to journey within the construct of what your decisions have been made as far as your spiritual development. So it begins is necessarily the meaning of you are now beginning your journey. If you've joined the classes for the first time, your journey is completely new. It is completely new because you have possibly not encountered as much as you're about to encounter when you enter the left-hand path. See, we have a lot of armchair occultists, sofa occultists, who sit in the sidelines and all they do is read books. Books are beneficial to a point. They give you knowledge, But the problem with books is there's not a lot of practical information in there that you can apply to your daily life to see increments of growth and success. Now, do not get it twisted. People misunderstand when I say success. Success is not just based upon finances. Your success are based upon the accomplishment of short-term and long-term goals. Within the left-hand path, you have spiritual goals that you should achieve and try to achieve. If you don't have goals set for yourself for 2022, spiritually, then you're going to be all over the place. What does that mean? Well, what is one of your weaknesses that you feel you should or must face going into this year, moving forward? See, in the darkest shadow work class, that will most likely start on Wednesday at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Wednesday at 7 p.m. So your last day to sign up for the darkest shadow work class is Wednesday by 6 p.m. if you want to be up and ready. But I would suggest signing up before that, because there's already work for you to begin with in that class. No, I do not use books a lot. So if you join, let's say, the left-hand path African magic class, there's no books really. I'll give PDF files, and those are examples, but I really don't teach out of books. I teach out of experience. I teach out of what I've learned. I teach from what I've learned from mentors, from what I've learned from discussions with others, things of that nature. So do not look for books as a sticking point to a class. So if you join the left-hand path African magic class, the first class is tonight at 7 p.m. If you were thinking of joining, you have until 7 p.m. to join this class. We're going to focus on challenges this year, meaning every class this year will have a challenge that is beyond the ritual work. Challenges are good because it makes you really check how much you've really learned the knowledge, applied the knowledge, and lived the knowledge. You're going to check yourself on that. I'm not checking you. The challenges are going to help you check yourself, be a barometer of where you're at. Moving forward, that is an essential tool because you know where you really have to focus on. So for example, in the darkest shadow work class, you should already start focusing on your weaknesses, your issues, traumas, pains, things of that nature, because that's what we're going to really attack. And I would suggest if you are straddling the fence, if you're a newcomer, or if you want to go further into left-hand path, everyone should start at the darkest shadow work class. Because the more complex magical systems, you need to have developed some shadow work before you get there. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to have accomplished some level of shadow work before you really take more complex classes. Okay, we're going to go hard this year. And so it begins. This is why I started the video with that statement. It begins. The challenges begin. The intense work begins. Because something we have to understand on the left-hand path is your life is met with challenges to determine how real you are about this path. So one person could acquire COVID and perceive it in one way, and another person may never acquire COVID and perceive it in another way. No one's right or wrong. But what determines how you feel about COVID is how you allow yourself to be programmed by media, or you personally research, in-depth research and study on what is not being revealed by the media or the medical institutions who consider themselves to be authority on this. But in reality, there's much more information out there. So that's important to understand. How you perceive it determines a lot how you've been programmed and your acceptance of it and how you overcame it. See, the mind is a powerful tool. It can be your best friend or worst enemy. If I tell you these are the symptoms and I keep repeating it and you keep hearing it and it keeps getting pumped, you will replicate those same symptoms. That is the power of the mind. Does that really mean that it could have been something else or not? That's for you to determine, not for me. But I'm just using that as an example of the power of the mind. Your mind has to be a sharp edged sword. You literally have to sharpen your mind. Moving forward into this 2022, it is essential you sharpen your mind and become powerful mentally. That should be everybody's goal, is to focus on some level of mental expansion beyond your programming. We all have programming. We've had it since we were children. Our parents were the first and the best programmers of all our lives. Your educational institutions also are heavily involved in your programming. Your religious institutions, that's a big one. And finally, the mass media, social media, et cetera, all levels of mental programming. Now, you're not responsible. Let me say this again. You're not responsible as a child for your programming. You are responsible as an adult if you remain programmed. I'm gonna say this again a little slower. You're not responsible as a child for your programming, but you definitely are responsible if you remain programmed as an adult. It is your responsibility to check your programming and alter your programming if that is what you choose. The sheeple, unfortunately, do not choose to alter or change their programming. They follow along with the programming. The more so adepts, the black adepts, I'm not even going to say the awakened ones or the woke ones, because this woke culture is really retarded culture. Sorry, but I speak straight up. And most of what I hear from this woke culture is straight retarded. And if you will follow along with that mentality, you're going to wrestle with the left-hand path, straight up. Now, you have to check. How much have you progressed since your childhood programming? How much have you progressed and changed? Because if you're still making excuses as a child, you're really a child in an adult body. It's time for us to check and grow past these things. Because programming is a heavy thing. So the left-hand path focuses a lot on breaking that programming. Therefore, we seem to be the adversary to society, which we are, which is against the construct of society, the systems, the morality, so on and so forth of society. Therefore, we seem to be very adversarial to that, and we are, and we should be proud to be that, because that means you're thinking for yourself. That means you're going beyond the regular mindset. And you have to if you're going to really awaken, not some fake woke culture, cancel culture mentality. That's superficial, just nonsense, outright nonsense, much of it. You have to wake up past that. When you know you've awakened is when you know I got mad issues and I need to do something about it. Now you're not making excuses for your issues. You're doing something to change your issues and really grow. As a Luciferian, we understand you are the only God that is. And we are of the adversarial current. Therefore, we question everything. But I'd like to add on to that. More importantly, we question everything about ourselves, then everything outside of ourselves. But it should start within yourself. Why do you react like that? Is that a cultural reaction, which became a behavioral reaction, which then became a personal reaction to a certain situation or event? See, these are the things we have to really get down to the nitty gritty. We must accomplish this work and we must succeed at fulfilling the quest of transforming ourselves. So if you are still interested, the darkest shadow work class is available. And we'll start Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Patreon for those who choose to sign up. Please do so soon, because there will be a limit how many students I take. I cannot have too many students, then it becomes chaotic. So I like to control the chaos. So there'll be limited amount of people I will take, but you have until Wednesday at 6 p.m. to sign up. You do not want to miss this, especially if you're a newcomer. If you're in YouTube land, you really should think about taking a class. If you've been programmed by the conscious community and think you don't need to be initiated or do further work than just the superficial stuff you do now, you might want to check yourself and say, maybe I do need to go a little further and find out why I feel I don't need to be initiated, because my ego is out of whack. Now, in the left-hand path, we exalt our ego, not the false ego, the true ego, which we learn about in the darkest shadow work class, which we go in depth into understanding that part of ourselves. And we go in depth into understanding how to integrate the ego consciousness with the demonic consciousness. These are essential moving forward. Left-hand path after magic class, I thought more people would sign up for that. I was mistaken. So many people asked about it, they asked questions about it, but I guess I was mistaken. If you really want to learn about it, join. If not, that's fine. The show must go on. So my peoples, this is the first video for 2022. I will do more. I will do more live videos on YouTube, and we will have a great and successful year. Again, the financial classes are there for those who want it. I'm surprised no one signed up for that. But again, that lets me know where your mindset is at. Someone, and many people will sign up eventually when they understand the value of creating generational wealth, not just short-term wealth, generational wealth. These things and more we will discuss. All right. So my peoples, infernal blessings to all, and to all, y'all have a great, beautiful, dark night.